I think the grand jury decision, me personally, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because we gotta understand what we're dealing with. We're dealing with a family. The prosecutors, the district attorneys, the judges, the police officers. Even some of the law officials, meaning some of the councilmen and senators, they're related. And if they're not blood related, they're in the same circle. So when we talk about black male, melanated male being killed by police, do we really expect their family members to indict them? We gotta understand that this is a beast that we're dealing with. This is a system. It's not just we're up against the police. It's not like we're up against white people. We're up against a system that has seeped for thousands of years, actually, not even centuries, but thousands of years to exterminate the black man. And it seems as though in 2014 going into 2015, they're actually picking up their pace. It's like every 28 hours a black male is murdered by law enforcement. So when we talk about the grand jury decision, we shouldn't even put faith in the grand jury. Again, I think it comes back to knowing basic history. Knowing basic history, using basic logic. And then one thing also we gotta remember that it's not like we're talking about the officers were arrested for a crime and went to trial to beat the crime and got found not guilty. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the grand jury saying there's not even enough evidence to say that these two officers in the Mike Brown case, in the Garner case here in New York, Staten Island, they're saying there's no evidence, there's not enough evidence to even say they committed a crime. So we can't even arrest these men, and especially in the Garner case, which is it's so unbelievable. It was on camera. The chokehold is illegal. Excessive force is illegal. The man was on camera repeatedly 11 times. I cannot breathe. I cannot breathe. I cannot breathe. And this officer did not let go of the chokehold. Did not loosen up the chokehold. Fellow officers watched. EMT workers sat there and watched and observed. So what we're dealing with is we can call it a systemic plot against black men. So the grand jury decision only plays into that. And I would say the grand jury decision is actually part of the process to lead to more mass incarceration, but on a different level. Because they know that releasing those decisions at night, people are going to be upset. People are going to be pissed off. So they're setting us up. You know what I mean? And we got to remember that there's more than one way to skin the cat. There's more than one way to fight. And two, it's so much, man. And those decisions, again, it's what hurts me more than the no indictment is the fact that we believe there will be an indictment. And then when it's not, we act surprised. In my whole 30 years, I don't remember maybe once or twice where I think Admiral there was an indictment later on when the feds got involved. But initially, saying no crimes. These officers commit no crimes. And we continue to put faith in them. So I think that we got a lot to learn as to how the grand jury works, what their role is, and how even we can be a part of those decisions. You know what I mean? Because those are not our peers. Those are not people who love Garner or who love Mike Brown that are making those decisions. Those are people who are on the side of law enforcement, who believe that in most cases that these young black men, or in the Garner case, he was a grown man, these young men or these black men have to be doing something wrong. You know what I mean? They have to be doing something wrong. And one of the biggest misconceptions, especially about the Garner case, that a lot of people are not aware of or not paying attention to, is the media, they say he was killed for selling cigarettes. And that's a huge lie. You know what I mean? It's a huge lie. He was killed because he was black and the officer wanted to harass him and he wasn't trying to be harassed anymore. There was no cigarettes found on his person. You know what I mean? He had no cigarettes that they say he had. So when they talk about, he was killed for selling cigarettes, that's propaganda. It's propaganda to get not only black people to be like, he shouldn't have been selling cigarettes, but to get white people to be like, he deserved it. You know what I mean? And so the grand jury decision is just, it's what they do. It's what they do. They don't find their family members guilty. And you got to understand that. Keep marching. Man, I watched videos when I was a youth. You know, in school they told me about Dr. King, and he marched in Washington and gave a huge speech. And the words were powerful and they inspired me. You know, and I believed in that dream. And I was a young kid, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. And now as a grown man, witnessing the same thing, witnessing, it's just different faces, but we playing the same game. We still marching, we still protesting. Protesting ain't never worked. Protesting ain't never got nobody their freedom. Ain't never got nobody out of their oppression. It's never been for protesting. It's been through economic empowerment, and it's been through revolution. You know what I mean? When we look at history, it's basic history. Like, we don't got to deal with opinions of, oh, I think this will work, and let's try this. We don't got to reinvent the wheel. Every nation, every group of people that have gotten their freedom from oppressors, from an oppressive group, it's been bloodshed. You know, so I would say, as a young 30-year-old male, any adult, especially grown man, especially over a certain age, over 50, who's been around for a long time, who is still telling his people to keep marching, keep walking, keep protesting, keep making picket signs when they're killing us brutally in the streets, I would say is a misleader in either one or two things. Either they really don't know and they have no answer, or it's propaganda and they're actually benefiting off the murders and the struggle of my brothers and my sisters. And so when the brother Reverend Al Sharpton tells us we want to do it peacefully, who's he speaking for? You know what I mean? Because again, as a 30-year-old male, my generation and younger, we pissed off. And we've been peaceful for so long. We talk about no justice, no peace, but we haven't had justice and we're still peaceful. How can you chant no justice, no peace, right? Literally say, if we don't have justice, we will not be peaceful, but then not get justice and say we must protest in peace. Like, and all people have to do is listen. Just listen, pay attention to what's being said, and think with your own mind. Don't follow because somebody dresses nice or they got a lot of money and they on TV and they must be telling the truth. They must have your best interest at heart because they look like you. You know what I mean? And all we got to do is think, use our logic. Like, has this worked? Has marching and protesting worked? You know what I mean? We marched across the country, literally. You know what I mean? Dr. King marched and was still killed. Still got killed after his huge march in Washington. So, however, 40 whatever years later, 50 years later, we still doing the same thing. And it hurts me so much because so many of my people are following blindly, you know, and as a man in a certain, I guess, quote unquote, leadership position, you should be honest with your people. You know what I mean? Again, unless those are not really your people. And I'm not going to say who should follow who. I'm just going to say we got to do something different as a people, and I'm doing something different. And I'm going to inspire others to, you fight for your freedom. You don't march for your freedom. You don't walk for your freedom. You don't protest and pick up a picket sign for your freedom. You fight. You build economically. You build your communities. You educate. You know what I mean? That's how you get your freedom. But ultimately, it comes down to you fight. And there's multiple ways to fight. So when I'm saying fight, I'm not saying physically. Because right now in America, I don't think that we can win a physical war with the government. But we can fight economically. You know what I mean? By pooling our resources. We can fight by boycotting, by stop spending money in businesses that don't support the community, that actually work to imprison and enslave the residents of certain communities, predominantly urban communities. A lot of these businesses and these stores, they have interest in prisons. You know what I mean? They have interest in these different institutions that work against the black male and black woman. And so, again, when we have a leader who's been around so long, who is not talking economics, who is not talking independence, who is not talking, Black Wall Street, building our own communities. If they're not talking about that, then again, the question has to be arisen. Who are they working for? Who are they fighting for? Whose side are they on? Because it's evident. You know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that we've been doing the same things for 50, 60, 70 years, if not longer, and we're actually becoming in a worse position than we were then. And so, I'm pissed off. I'm pissed off that the brother tells us to keep walking and to keep marching and to keep being peaceful when they're killing us. If you're in your home and you're sitting down and you're minding your business, you're chilling, and an invader, an intruder comes in, breaks into your home. Now, if you're a certain type of person, you might, what do you want? Why are you here? And once they slap you, you might say, yo, I'm going to call the authorities. I'm going to tell. And then they slap you again. You know what I mean? Then the authorities come and then they slap you. And then they get your brothers and your sisters from other parts of the world and bring them and enslave all y'all. And we still talking about peaceful. This is our house. This is our land. You know, they have never been peaceful with us. Never. They've enslaved us. They've never been peaceful. They've never cared. As a people, as a group of people, the European has never cared about the African. They actually work to destroy us and take us off this earth. So again, when we have someone in a certain position who's been around, who has to be well educated, you know what I mean? A brother Al Sharpton, he's very well educated. He's actually a powerful speaker. You know, I've listened to him a few times, like, whoa, he touched my heart. But then I get out of my emotion. I get out of the big words and the finesse, right? Because that's all it is. It's just finesse in the art of communication, the art of spell casting. You know what I mean? Knowing how to use certain words and certain terms and certain emotions to get people to listen to you and follow you. Because I know that when I hear him, I get out of my emotion and I look and say, we're doing the same shit. Ain't nothing changed. And he's leading us down the same path. And the people are still following. So, yeah, it's time for new leadership. You know, it's been time for new leadership. And there's plenty of us young black men and women around the country who are rising up. So, you know, I'm proud of them. And the revolution will never be televised. Justice, you know, in the Old Testament, right? We go to scripture. In the Old Testament, it said an eye for eye, a tooth for a tooth. If someone, and this is, again, this is a God-given right, you know what I mean? An innate right to defend yourself, to defend your family, you know what I mean? To defend your property, to defend your land, to defend your nation, by the same force used to oppress, enslave, and brutalize your nation. So I would say, you know what I mean? And again, this is not off emotion. This is not off of feeling. This is off logic. This is off history. This is off spirituality. You know what I mean? Justice would be to get the, I guess you could say, not persecutors, but to get the perpetrators. You know what I mean? Darren Wilson, Officer Daniel Panteleano, I don't even know the brother's name, but the officer who killed Eric Garner, to, as a community, right, as a family, to go apprehend him, bring him back to the community, to the family, in which, you know, the loved one they killed. In this case, here in New York City, it would be bring the officer of Staten Island, bring him in front of Eric Garner's family, bring him in front of the black community who's pissed off, and let the family decide what happens to him. You know what I mean? And if the family wants to imprison him for 100 years or for 30 years, that's their decision, right? That's a decision that they make collectively. And if they say off with his head, then that's a decision they make collectively. Is someone said yesterday, oh, it's a quote, an eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth leaves the whole world blind and toothless. Yeah, that's cool. That's Gandhi, right? That's cool. People say that. But Gandhi also didn't care about his people, you know what I mean, and killed his own people. So we got to understand where we're getting these philosophies from and where we're getting these quotes from. And it's always been, you hurt one of mine, I hurt one of yours. And you can say two rights don't make a wrong, but we're dealing with a bully. We're dealing with a system that has bullied us for centuries and that continues to bully us, that threatens our children. I don't even have children, and I'm scared to have children because I don't want to bring them into this world and they be subject to what's going on. You know what I mean? Because I'm not leaving the black community to go move around white people and raise my children so they could be safer. I'm not doing that. So, but even if you did that, they're still not safe. But I'm not doing that. You know, so we got to get back to culture and spirituality. In that, you know what I mean? When in ancient times, when someone hurt one of our loved ones, you know, one of our tribe members, we gathered, we did ritual, we did ceremony, and we called the spirits of the ancestors, and they dealt with that. You know what I mean? And that can be considered justice. You killed my son, and now your daughter has AIDS or cancer or can't talk. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that. But because I would say part of the problem is we allow religion to tell us, you know, revenge is mine, said the Lord, but forgetting that even Jesus the Christ told us we are gods. So if we could just take that analyzation and say, well, if we are gods and if revenge is mine, said the Lord, then I am the Lord. The Lord dwells within me, within us as the people. So whatever we collectively decide to do as justice is not seen as a crime in the eyes of the Lord. You know what I mean? If that's what you believe. So again, justice, I would say as a young 30-year-old black male is community decides, community justice. You know what I mean? And part of that is having our own courts to be able to try this man. You know what I mean? And try these different people, because it's not just one man, it's a whole system that has, that played a part in the Mike Brown murder and then the grand jury decision. And there's a whole system that played a part in Eric Garner's murder and then the jury decision to not indict the officer. So justice, I think Aristotle said it best. Justice is in the interest of the strong, meaning that what we believe justice is was conditioned into us, right, by the same people who supposedly administer justice, right, the justice system. But it's a justice system built off injustice. So we can never get justice from them, you know what I mean? And then we also got to ask ourselves, if someone kills our brother and then goes to prison for 20 years, but still living good, still able to get married and have children and see their loved ones, is that justice? I say again, let the parents decide, let the spouses decide, let the children decide what justice is in these cases. Well, white people who care about black people, for one, they gotta deal with their white people. You know what I mean? These are their fathers and uncles and cousins and brothers and sisters who are not only committing these crimes, but who are judges, you know what I mean? Who are prosecutors and district attorneys, you know what I mean? And lawmakers. And so if white people really care, deal with other white people, man. You know, deal with other white people, talk to them, hold them accountable. Don't just keep standing by saying, oh, this is messed up, the system is broken. Do something about it, you know what I mean? Collectively, there has seemed to be, in New York City alone, thousands, tens of thousands of white people protesting, tens of thousands of white people who say they care. And if they really care, they got to examine their own white privilege, you know what I mean, and work to break that. Because as long as white privilege exists, and as long as the white people who say they care in some form of their life are perpetuating the white privilege and are actually taking advantage of it, then they're also contributing to the demise of black people, because they're letting their family members, right, the court officers and the judges and things like that, they're letting them know that, yeah, we care, but we're not willing to give up what we have. We're not willing to give up our comfortability to help them. And that's what they're letting them know by still allowing the system to go on. Also, white people who care about black people, teach black people the truth, man. Teach black people that the God that we believe in, you gave to us, right? You gave to us. You watered down our spiritual system. Teach us that shit, because y'all white people know that. Y'all know y'all get it from us. And we're following your systems. And if we get back to our systems, it's not so much that we would, or the white people will come and stink, but we'll rise up. And again, we have always brought order. We have always brought order, even to the white people, even to the European when they was in the caves. We civilized them. We've always civilized the white people because that's who we are as Africans. We are loving people by nature. And so if white people really want to help black people, help us remember who we are. You know what I mean? Teach us the truth in your schools. You know what I mean? Stop feeding us these GMO and these crazy foods that got our mind twisted, that got us not even able to think straight about our situation so that we can think out of our situation. All of that is relevant to our condition today. You know what I mean? If you really want to help white people, if the white people really want to help black people, help us build our businesses. Stop gentrifying our communities. You know what I mean? Stop coming and taking over. But ultimately, I think if white people really want to help black people, white people have to deal with white people. You know what I mean? I'm not appealing to no white people, to give us justice. I'm not doing that. My generation ain't doing that. You know what I mean? We're going to work with each other and we're going to get about the situation. But the white people have to talk with white people, because as long as we're in this country together, it's going to be a conflict. You know what I mean? It's going to be a conflict, especially with the generations to come. They're not having it like the generations before me. Even some of my generation, we're a little hesitant to do certain things. These younger dudes and these younger girls, they're ready for whatever. You know what I mean? They're ready to turn up and get busy. And unless we want total destruction in this country, right? And then it will be a world war, actually. white people got to hurry up and deal with white people, man. Either get them out their positions and help us get in, because you know we're loving people. And we're going to bring balance. We're going to make sure everybody eats. We've always done that, make sure everybody gets an equal share. That's who we are. Help us get back to that position. Help us get back into ruling the government. You know what I mean? If you want to help us. And if you're not going to help us do that, then just help white people, not even so much the people in positions of power, but help the average white person who says when Mike Brown got killed, oh, he had to be doing something wrong. When Eric Garner got killed, he had to be doing something wrong. When 12-year-old Tamir Rice, oh, he had to be doing something wrong. He should not have been there. Help the white people understand that it doesn't matter what we're doing, we're a target. You know what I mean? Dr. King spoke well educated, dressed with a suit. You know what I mean? They still killed him. You know what I mean? So help white people understand that. You know what I mean? It's not blacks and thugs if they didn't dress like this, if Trayvon didn't have a hoodie. That's what they're saying. The white people who know better, who are conscious, got to help wake up the other white people who are unconscious, or it's going to get uglier and uglier and uglier, and nobody's going to like it. You know what I mean? The black church. First, I gotta make it clear that just because a black person is the leader of a church doesn't mean it's a black church. You know what I mean? Again, we gotta remember, for us, church was simple connection with the divine. That's what church was, so we can have church anywhere. And we had church anywhere. We've had church in the communities. We've had church in the woods. We've had church everywhere, because church is just communion with the divine, communion with your fellow brothers and sisters to understand the higher nature, the higher source. So when we have black people who are pastors, bishops, deacons, things like that, and they have a white Jesus picture in their church, or when they're not telling black people that they are the people in the Bible, they are the original Hebrews, they are the original Jews, you know what I mean, and that God is within them, if they're not teaching that, it's not a black church. You know what I mean? It's black people propagating the white church's agenda. That's all that is. And so in our current condition, the quote-unquote black church, right, meaning the black people who are heads of churches, they rocked us to sleep. You know what I mean? They've been a big part of our demise, and still waiting for a savior. If you just read the text and read the scriptures, all of them, Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, Taoism, you know what I mean, Sanskrit, Hinduism, the Vedic, scrolls, they all tell us that God is within us. You know what I mean? God has always been within, and God, whatever you want to do, you can invoke the God within you. And as a people, we're so powerful if we just get back to our spiritual systems, our culture, you know what I mean, which is drum, is dance. We used to be able to make it rain. Literally, when we had droughts back in Africa and even here in America, and even in Cuba, remember, Africans dominated the world, traveled the world, so wherever we were, when we wanted something to happen, we made it happen. But in 2014, going into 2015, we can't even get these crackers off our back. You know what I mean? We can't even get their boots off our neck, because we're not worshiping, or we're not communing with the divine the way we used to, the way we originally did. And so the black church, when I speak about the black church, I'm speaking about black magic. You know what I mean? Let's get back to that. Let's resurrect the black church, the true black church. You know what I mean? Black magic. Let's get back to talking about true justice. You know what I mean? And helping people connect with their higher selves. You know what I mean? So that they can, as individuals, liberate themselves, become conscious, see what's going on, figure out how role they play in not only their personal liberation, but also as a people. Help them figure that out. You know what I mean? When we got a church or a pastor who reads a scripture and talks about David slaying Goliath with the slingshot, but then we got the same pastor telling people to be peaceful, David wasn't peaceful. That is an ancient version of a gun. You know what I mean? And he took the bully down with that. So when we have a pastor who will read that but not explain that in that context, and then go and talk about be peaceful, you know what I mean? We got, again, a black person who is pushing a white church's agenda. And we don't need that. You know what I mean? We've been rocked to sleep. Literally, like, it pains me to see my elders talk about, let's pray. Pray for what? We've been praying. We have the answer. We have the answer. The answer is within us. We should meditate, and there's nothing wrong with communicating, but we have the answer, right? If for lack of a better word, God already told us what to do. Rise up and free yourselves. No one can liberate yourself. No one can liberate you but you. So It's not a savior that's going to come out the sky and make the situation better, because it hasn't happened. In fact, the same God that we're praying to is the same God the oppressors pray to. And obviously our prayers haven't been working, regardless of how well off we think we are as individuals, and we think we've made progress. We got a black president, we got black athletes and black entertainers breaking records, right? But we're still praying to the oppressor's God, the God that they gave us. You know what I mean? We're still praying, Father. That's an Indo-European deity that we're worshiping, and we don't even know it. And so we wonder why we're praying and nothing's happening. And then we say, oh, God is good because I got my new job, or I got this, I got that. But then your brothers are getting slain in the streets. So how good is God really? The God that you pray, you know, that you pray to and talk about. And so, again, we got to redefine what black church means, and not say just because a black person, whether male or female, is the head of a church. You know what I mean? Most of these churches are Catholic. You know what I mean? When you got a title such as a deacon or a bishop, right? That's Catholic. You know what I mean? Catholicism is 100% opposed to the liberation of the African. 100% Catholicism is totally against African liberation. And so when we have people in those positions calling themselves bishops, right, and whatever title they take, we have to understand that they might love us, and because they might be a black person and they might care, but they're pushing the white person's agenda. And so long as that's going on, the same powers are going to keep happening. So to redefine a black church, let's get back to our culture, get back to our spirituality. Stop looking down on voodoo or voodoo. You know what I mean? All that is communing with the ancestors to make your way known. You know what I mean? So we have a situation. We want these officers, Officer Darren Wilson and these other officers who are killing our brothers and sisters, to be brought to justice, right? Whatever that means to you. If we commune with the ancestors, right? If we commune with our orishas, you know what I mean? Then they would do in the spiritual realm what they see fit, and it wouldn't be up to us, you know what I mean? But because we're not doing that, because we've been rocked to sleep, and we are unaware and unconscious to our spiritual greatness and the magnitude of our spirit, the same thing is happening. So again, redefining the black church, man. The black church is supposed to be talking about justice, supposed to be talking about liberation and freedom. Supposed to be talking about that we are one with God. We are one with the divine. We are not separate. And so therefore, anything that we do in pursuit of our freedoms, our liberties, and justice in our name is justified in God's name, because we are one. And so we got to remember that. And when the churches don't teach that, again, it's a black face pushing the Catholic Church's agenda. And that shit got us enslaved. Crazy. Black people, rise up. Remember who you are. Remember that everything in this universe, everything that is physical, right, and spiritual, it comes from us. You know what I mean? All of the systems, all of the cultures, all of the institutions come from us. So when we talk about our problem and then our solution, we are the solution. It's just rising up and remembering who we are. Part of the solution is separating ourselves from this oppressive structure. Part of the solution is, again, getting back to our ancient practices, our spiritual practices, our nutrition practices, growing our own food, becoming self-reliant as black people. Part of the solution, especially here in America, is building a black nation. You know what I mean? It's 43.2 million blacks in America. And the number of blacks it is in America in terms of, I think, economic power, we will be like 43rd. We will be our own country, the 43rd largest, strongest, most powerful country in the world in terms of economic power. In terms of numbers, I think we will be like the 36th largest country in the world. We are a country within a country, a nation within a nation. But because we've been, again, rocked to sleep, we haven't looked or sought to establish ourselves as a nation here in America. Yes, we have some nations. We have, Nation of Gods and Earths. We have the Zulu nation. We have the Nation of Islam. We have the Moorish American nation. But we're divided. We're still fighting over doctrine. We still, the plan of the slave master, the oppressor, is still working, divide and conquer. But I'm here to unite the families, you know what I mean, to bring the nations together and to rise up as one nation, as one black, melanated African nation, you know what I mean, and to rise up by owning our own property, you know what I mean, owning our own communities. And when we talk about owning our communities, it's not talking about just the housing within the community, but every business within the community. That's community. And here in Queensbridge and a lot of our quote-unquote communities, they just neighborhoods. You know what I mean? We don't own nothing. And so the solution is here in New York City right now. We got an 18-year-old sister, Masai, out of Brooklyn, organizing the black youth here in NYC, you know, around blackout, saying that the black youth got to come together because they know that they are the solution and they are the leaders of this movement. And so they're waking up. They're waking up. They're becoming conscious on so many different levels, part of the solution. Also, we got New Black Wall Street, you know what I mean, over the last month or two, that's picked up steam. You know, sister in Atlanta, Oya, she initiated that, realizing that she's a mother, realizing that, you know, the condition of her people and what her son can be subject to if we don't take back our communities or if we don't start reestablishing our own black sovereign communities. So she pushing that hard. We got some people down in Orlando, we got Chicago, we got really the whole upper East Coast, New York, New Jersey, Philly, we rocking. Meeting tomorrow about it, you know, Black Wall Street, and how does that look? What does that look like? You know, was attempting to buy a ghost town in Connecticut. You know, fell through, but we're still working. We realize that as long as blacks are part of the oppressive European white supremacist racist structure, we will never have freedom. We can never be liberated, not truly liberated. And so we have to break away from that. We have to declare unity amongst each other, and then to the rest of the world, we have to declare our independence. Right here in America, this is our land, you know what I mean? My personal ancestors died on this land. So yes, we come from Africa, but some of us are already here when the slaves came. You know what I mean? We were already being slaughtered and enslaved on our own land. So though we can say that, you know, going back to Africa is the solution, absolutely, it's part of it. But for those of us who are tied by our blood to this land, we got to declare our independence right here on American soil. And I believe wholeheartedly that as we build momentum to doing that, you know what I mean, to establishing a black America, as we build that momentum, the forces of the ancestors will be with us. And they will work with us and guide us and protect us, you know what I mean, to make sure that we have that. Yes, there will be bloodshed, you know what I mean. In every war, every group of people, when they wanted their freedom, there was bloodshed, you know. So we can't think that we're going to get our freedom peacefully. You know what I mean? Some people be peaceful, absolutely. Everybody's not a warrior. You know what I mean? Some people are teachers, some are caretakers, some are farmers, you know, some are scientists, you know what I mean? Some are spiritual, they meditate in vibration and things like that, and that's all cool. Everybody has a part to play. But let the warriors be warriors. You know what I mean? Don't tell the warriors not to fight when they're watching their brothers and sisters not only be killed, but imprisoned at a rapid rate. There was I think in Harlem the other week, there was a lady who said that the numbers in prison was down. You know what I mean? Oh, the crime rate was down or something like that. And we automatically realized that it's because the prisons are coming to us. You know what I mean? They're in our communities. Like, a lot of our communities are peaceful. Why are there 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cops on any given block in any given community across the United States and America? Here in Queensbridge, we got these big floodlights. You know, yes, there's a reason for it, but there's no reason for it. You know what I mean? As a community, we can handle our own business. You know what I mean? And if we didn't have these oppressive terrorist groups known as the NYPD in our communities, we would figure it out and we would get it together as a community, as a family. That's what families do. Families have issues, but families work it out amongst themselves. You know what I mean? You don't call your enemy of your brother to come take care of it. No, you deal with it yourself. You know? So again, we got blackout going on here in New York City. That's young people. I'm so proud of them young people, so passionate about their culture, about who they are, about their freedom and liberation. We got the New Black Wall Street picking up steam. Who knows, soon we will have our own community that we can start investing in and building. And we're going to have various communities across the country because it's 43 million of us. I think the demographic it was a site that showed, I think, like 6 states in the South and in the Midwest that we could occupy. You know what I mean? Farmland and is built for us. So that's the solution. Me and my brother Ray, we started drafting the Black Declaration of Unity. You know what I mean? To across the nations, across the nation, through the various nations that I mentioned earlier, and just amongst the average black person to declare unity. For those who want freedom, let's declare our unity, document it. Once we do that, let's establish our pledge of allegiance, to pledge to this unity, to pledge to this black nation. You know what I mean? Once we do that, we have our numbers. Then we go to the United Nations and declare our independence. It's 43 million of us. We want independence right here in America. And once we do that, we have a black America. We call it a black nation. We can call it whatever we want to call it. But I don't think in all of my logic and all of my meditation and all of my research, I haven't seen any other way that any group of people have gotten free from their oppressors other than by claiming their independence. And at some point in claiming that independence, there is bloodshed. So to my brothers and sisters, know that we're at war. Know that war is not only physical, it's not only about fighting, it's psychological. You know what I mean? It's biological, it's chemical, it's spiritual, it's cultural. You know what I mean? And we've been rocked to sleep. But I'm here to tell you all that we're waking up, we're rising. And we will make a better way. There will be a brighter day. Again, I bet my life on it. I put my life out there daily, fighting for our liberation. And I know many of you do as well. So keep it up. You know what I mean? Keep it up. Know that the system ain't gonna let up. They're not gonna give us a break. You know what I mean? And no, let's not be misled and fooled and think that they're gonna let up because we're angry and we're upset and we start spending a couple dollars. They're gonna put more pressure on us. More pressure means they're gonna kill more of our brothers and sisters. But as long as we continue to elevate in consciousness, right, and pull our resources together, our brothers and sisters, especially our brothers, have to learn martial arts, how to fight, how to defend yourself, how to defend your family. You know what I mean? Not be scared to take up arms. We at war. There's nothing wrong with having arms. You have a right. Not only you have a constitutional right, because the Constitution, that Constitution is two constitutions that people don't even know. Constitution for the United States and the Constitution of the United States. But that's a whole nother story. But not only do we have a constitutional right to bear arms, we have a God-given right to defend ourselves against any forces, against any force who works to destroy a people. That people has the right to defend themselves however they see fit. And there's a generation that's rising up. Some of the OGs even, they're ready to grip up. But we coming together, man, and by any means necessary, as the brother Malcolm said, who I give all praises due, by any means necessary, our freedom and our liberation. And for me, it's freedom or it's death.